idea, I mean, videos are videos, but anyway, again, to give birth to the ancient in a new time is creation, and all we can do, is reach for something. But when you have this kind of inspiration, like from Flash, it's really it's something else. By the way, also the idea of this rhythmized textiles also references, of course, more of what music was like in New Orleans and Chicago, and then of course in Kansas City, and later this idea of a soloist kind of out front, and I was kind of referencing back to that idea as well as of course those inspirational experiences in Africa. Okay, so the third and last thing I want to touch on, in 2000 I realized maybe it was getting gray or whatever, it was time for me to share and mentor some musicians and a lot of musicians were interested in what I was doing. So I was inspired by one of my great mentors, Don Cherry, who I started working with in '78. And the inspiration from him was that to sort of start an ensemble that could really be open to all kinds of musicians from all kinds of backgrounds and level of experiences, and have them be in the same group at the same time, which of course I experienced living in Ghana too. There'll be that kid up there in the brekete, and his job is just but he's in the group with the great elder master drummer. Of course, the master drummer sometimes is there playing just the bell because of his devotion to the future, but that's a whole other thing. But anyway, everybody could participate in that. So that was the idea, and since then I've traveled all over the world and taught hundreds and hundreds of musicians in the Go Organic Orchestra concept. And my home group, of which Danny's not a complete gig if Les Danny Dost is there, the Go Organic Orchestra in New York, is sort of in residence there. Anyway, rather than play some of the music, one of the things I got really interested in was trying to find a way to get as much aesthetic focus and freedom for all of the musicians with the least amount of writing possible. And I started getting this idea of cosmograms, looking at cosmograms or multi-dimensional writing. So lo and behold, maybe it was a memory of when I had read about the ideographic writing of the Educam in Flash-of-the-Spirit. But this idea, without my really maybe having a super deep understanding like many people here, but the idea of a sign representing ideas and a multi-dimensional reality that is more than what you're actually seeing. Okay, so these ideograms, I guess now I'm here, right? Okay. Yeah. So I started developing these ideograms, and what these ideograms are is they're intervallic patterns. And I just want to mention that in the early 1960s, a lot of musicians started dispensing with using chord changes, patterns of chord changes to organize the music. So you have great masters like Ornette Coleman, Eric Dolphy, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Yusuf Lateef, and others, Henry Threadgill, who started developing systems of ways of thinking about intervals. It's musical, it either makes sense to you or not, but intervals is between one pitch and another pitch. So these systems of thought, so my idea is when you have this, multi-dimensional rather than in Western music, as you know, where if an F follows an E and it's a quarter note, you gotta play it that way or else. Right? So my idea was, well, we still want to be in this sonic arena, but how can we move through it in a way that's really free for everybody? This one is called a triple diminished galaxy. Okay. And so the musicians can move through them. Like I'm just going to fly through them. This one is what is a kind of way of organizing intervals, which is based on the idea of combinatorics. Or double intervallic, so not to get technical about it, but anyway, it's another way of thinking about how to approach things. What it does is allows you to move into a very particular aesthetic arena, and everybody can kind of, rather than graphic notation, everybody can kind of play their own feeling, their own heartfelt feeling, their sentiments, and communicate with it. So I can have, like here, this is a double intervallic, maybe somebody playing with a background in rock and roll guitar can play with a classical flute player, and they sound like they're in the same, the conversation is about the same topic. But they bring their own me, M-I, the dogon, their inner spirit expressed through the voice of the instrument. That's what we're looking for. In the in the context of the collective upliftment. This is another one, another double intervallic. And the interesting thing about the double let me just go back. The interesting thing about those is that as I've developed them, each combination of two intervals has its own ideographic patterning. It sort of comes out that way. I don't force it because of how the intervals work with each other. By the way, 6 intervals, 12 notes, so that's significant. This is something a little bit about what I'm thinking about with rhythm. This is what I call ternary fractals or triplets, and this whole idea of 3 being the big multidimensionality. And of course, in any if anybody's played bata or heard bata drumming, you know what I'm talking about with that. And this idea of these fractals, and by the time you get over there to 81, maybe we should be talking about Elvin Jones at that point. More triple diminished garden, I guess. This is another double intervallic. That's the score, actually, of the piece that we were playing in the last video. Another one. So you can see they all have their own, like I said, but they, of course, then they come to life into the multidimensionality. And again, what's important is that when the musicians bring them to life, there is this idea of choice and freedom within that context, and it's a cosmogram because it implies a sonic reality that's different from the other ones. This one is another triple diminished galaxy with departures. Sometimes you got to go out 5 minutes. I'm actually done. One more triple diminished, so there's a lot of different ways to look at it. So you can play, in other words, the musicians can play forwards, backwards, any way they want. And one more triple, I'm always refining these, another triple diminished. So you can move to, so I can conduct the orchestra with this, the musicians can improvise with it. That's it. So I think there's really nothing to say in conclusion, except that's just a little picture of how Flash of the Spirit inspired and enlightened me, and continues to inspire and enlighten my creative path. All right, peace.
If the panel would please come up. Brooke, Danny, has said that we have time for 3 questions. So if anyone has a question or comment, I think there's Mike over here. Would you be able to?
I can shout.
It's being webcast.
Very fast. This book is sort of ranks for me as a mind blower under the Thompson level. So I just wonder if you're familiar with Ron E. Glash's African fractals.
No, and so that's good. So you will make me
great for all.
Oh no, I do. You're talking about the book. Then he talks about how the houses are made in fractals. Yes, amazing book that is well. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, I had a couple of questions about the etymology of some words. So I see that Zeka Leggero put up the word samba at a certain point, and it shows that it's sort of doubled in that it also means soul or spirit. I'm asking also, do you know something about the etymology of the word capoeira? And I'm going to cheat a little here too, because I know at Flash of the Spirit, Professor Thompson also talks about the etymology of the word jazz as well. So for Professor O'Mealy, I'd like to hear you speak a little bit about the origins of that word too.
I'm not sure about your question, because we have a big discussion about the origin of samba as a style, but at the same time we discuss about the origin of the word samba. In fact, there is a different approach People say that samba was born in Bahia, and people say that samba was born in Rio. It's a kind of discussion. And but the word samba is not from Brazil. It came from Congo, and there is in the dictionary Kikongo. There is the two words. Just with different accents. Samba means to pray, and samba to dance. And then you have both meanings, just in different accents. And in fact, you have also the name of a priestess in the Candomblé Angola, that's Samba.